Alright guys, so this is video 404 of this series for my class, and before I get started I just want to say happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a great time with your family, friends, loved ones, whoever you celebrate with, and have some great food ultimately. So this video is all about muscle imbalances and how to target those weak points to really catch everything up, because what I found is that when you have those antagonist muscles that just aren't proportionally strong, you start to plateau. Because I especially noticed this in my chest, because my back, all of those rhomboid muscles, the trap, rear delt, those were not up to speed, and I had like an overdeveloped chest and nothing like really back there pulling me back. But that can happen everywhere. That can happen with your hip flexors and your glutes, your quads and your hamstrings, just sort of everything that is antagonist, like I said. The overlying concept that I want to talk about is that if you can build proportional strength throughout your entire body and have that strength be applicable in full ranges of motion, you're going to have a great base to work off of. And as long as you continue to sort of do that, you're going to have a wider base, you're going to have a higher peak. Think of it like a pyramid. If you have a shorter base and things aren't really as evenly dispersed as they should be, where's your room to grow? But strong foundation, higher potential. Just want to help you guys sort of maximize the work that you're putting in, because personally I know if I was putting in 6, 7, 8 years of suboptimal training, to put it lightly. So in this video I'm just going to break down my own muscle imbalances, give you guys some examples, and explain sort of why they occurred, mainly from injury, but also the implications that they've had down the road, because it causes these sort of chain reactions where A can't move as well, therefore B can't move as well, and then it's just moves all the way up through the body. So we're going to get right into that. Alright guys, so I'm going to be going chronologically for this little injury breakdown here. First one occurred in 8th grade, just a little muscle spasm, muscle strain, caused a good amount of pain in that L3, L4 area, and ultimately it caused a lot of tightness in that fascia and in these underlying muscles right here. That pain just led to limited mobility in this spinal flexion, hyperextension, and lateral flexion that you can see here. And that limited spinal mobility ultimately resulted in a weaker core, especially in that lower lumbar area in the back, as well as these critical lower abs right here. So those are the overall implications that one injury from way back when has had, and planted that little seed of bad form that was cycled through on the squat, deadlift, and we were doing a lot of power cleans too. So the imbalance has just grown from there, and I'm really trying to catch things up. I'm trying to focus on the full hamstring. I'm like last video, all about mobility. I'm trying to unlock that lumbar mobility. I'm trying to unlock the hamstrings so that I can get up in the gym and then use them and catch them up, and then really go heavy and move weight effectively. Then I had a very partial tear in my right labrum, where I did not strengthen and stabilize my rotator cuff enough coming out of PT. And then once I started adding weight load to the delts, I noticed impingement and sort of sharp pain in all these different movements of the front, lateral, and rear delt. And the pain from training the rear delts led me to neglect the rear delts, and so the weakness there led to less hypertrophy in this transverse and ascending part of my traps. And as a result, I really overdeveloped my upper traps, and this just led to tightness in that clavicle area. And like I mentioned, the underdeveloped upper back and limited shoulder and rhomboid mobility ultimately led to less pec hypertrophy due to the limited range of motion. Then I sprained my left AC joint, leaving my left shoulder temporarily about 1.5 inches higher than my right shoulder. that caused limited hypertrophy in the pec minor, pec major, and the delts, and then also caused tightness in that neck and trap area. So those two injuries have definitely had implications on my shoulder mobility, and less mobility, that's the premise of this video. Less mobility, less room to grow. If I'm not able to pin my shoulders all the way back, the pec is limited in how far back it can stretch. And so definitely have these weak points when I bench or do push-ups and my shoulders are really pinned back. Definitely a lot more difficult. So overall, that limited shoulder mobility has effects on how well I'm able to grow my delts, how well I'm able to grow my chest, as well as my back. So between those two things, they've definitely had some effect on the growth trajectory of my upper body in those areas. So yeah, the one takeaway right there is increase the mobility and drop the weight. Then I had a pretty bad ankle sprain that I really hadn't addressed until like the last 6 months, because I started to notice the implications that a limited range of motion and strength of my left foot and ankle had on the rest of my entire left side of my leg. And the sprain involved foot inversion along with foot plantar flexion, and so that just stretched the hell out of all these tendons and ligaments in this area, which has limited my left side's dorsiflexion by about 10 degrees less than my right side. And that's important if you're trying to grow your calves, because the less dorsiflexion mobility you have, the less you're really going to be able to stretch out the soleus at the bottom of, let's just say, a calf raise, for example, leading to less hypertrophy in both the soleus and gastrocnemius. That ankle sprain has definitely had probably the biggest effect as of recently that I've noticed on my biomechanics. I notice it when I walk a lot, trying to fix my gait, trying to even it out, but it's just that, that's a painful thing when I try to rehab it and increase range of motion. That one hurts. That one hurts a lot. And so, when things sort of cause pain, your brain stops firing those neurons that are going to activate that muscle because it causes pain. So it sort of shuts it off unless you're very diligent in like targeting that part proactively. If you're very passive, you're just not going to use that muscle. And that's definitely something that's happened in a lot of these movements in the shoulders. It causes tightness. Certain movements hurt. You ignore it. You're not ignore it, but you set them off to the side. You don't focus on those weak points because it's just sort of turned off. So if you're passive about it, it's just gonna keep on happening. So to sort of just summarize and give you that 1, 2, 3 punch of what is actually important from this video, prioritize maximizing your mobility. And then once you feel like you have a pretty strong baseline, that's when you go up into the gym and you drop the weight. Don't go back into the gym with the same weight and then just, go back to your old form. Drop the weight and focus on keeping this new range of mobility that you have. And third, just work on up from there. Keep things balanced. Focus on your weak points. Do not go to the gym and skip out on what's weak. So yeah, guys, might have been a little bit of a longer video on this one, but like I said, wanted to be a little more thorough. This is definitely like a video that I'm a lot more passionate about. Like I said, the things that I've said in this video are things that I wish were said to me way back, right? So yeah, with all that, thank you for watching, guys. Have a great rest of your Thanksgiving/Thanksgiving break, and yeah, hopefully see you guys in the next one.